Okay. So I know we're live. Am I currently speaking to the wrong voice? I probably am. What do I sound like right now? Okay. Turn that off. Okay, normal mic should be back active. Great. So what are we doing today? I need to get back into the habit of just going live, whether I want to or not. Last couple weeks have been very difficult in certain regards. I won't go into detail. But I want to get back into this hobby, back into streaming, back into content creation, and maybe even one day make a career out of it. You know, it's not off the table because it's something I enjoy. There's plenty of things to talk about, plenty of things to share my passion about, and that goes for anybody that wants to watch. Now, I have a friend, his name's Suhaib, who has been pushing me to just go live, and push is the right word, and I appreciate it. Having someone like that in your life is very important. I think a lot of times we talk ourselves down, so it's high time I just focus on the positive. One thing that I did today that I figured I would talk a little bit about, because I thought it was awesome, was joining a Dungeons & Dragons West March campaign. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's see, how should I do this? Interesting. Okay. I'm just seeing my options here as to what I can do. This seems to be the best option. So the project that I'm basically joining right now as a player, but hopefully in the future as a dungeon master, it's called Auraverse, or Project Aurora. I wonder if they have a preference on what they want to call it. But what it is basically like a giant MMO TTRPG played with Dungeons and Dragons. Now, my role in it right now as a player means I can go on quests, go on adventures, and just perhaps, you know, leave my mark in this world, as they so put it. And so far I've enjoyed it. I already met some great people. I did my first play today. So there was about 6 players, and just first impressions. It was a little bit difficult to get started because there was technical issues. So that was probably issue number 1. Number 2, I personally would DM differently. That's all. Like, I think everyone has their own DM style. The way I approach, like, social encounters is a lot like how I approach like combat encounters. I give people enough time to interact. And while leaving it open-ended is good, and I think everyone was polite enough to allow one another the spotlight, I've had problems in the past with players always hogging the spotlight, myself included. Like, I was stepping on people's toes. And so I think it's very important to just give people the light, you know, like give people the limelight so they can be the hero, so they can be the talkative one. So this project in particular is kind of like a steampunk, cyberpunk. It's got a little bit of fantasy elements. I would say a lot of everything, really. I think it is a little bit overwhelming how much there is. Like in terms of not only like setting, but also races, potential things to do. I think that simplifying it would be how I approach it. But again, like I've only scratched the surface. I'm sure I'll get adjusted over time. So like one of the big reasons why I joined it is because I don't have to do the scheduling, which is always kind of like the pains of dungeon mastering. And of course being a player too. But it's a very flexible system. I can't show everything like behind the scenes, but it is on Discord and it's very interactive. So it's a community. So basically when you sign up for a quest, you're joining a group of other people, and it's not always going to be the same people. There's going to be weekly events, roleplay nights. There's always a process in place of like, let's say you're scared of spiders, arachnophobia. Then you're already kind of like vetted by taking a survey and being like, oh, you're not going to want to do this quest. And of course, just MMORPG was like the keyword that got me in the door. Because I've been looking for a Westmarch campaign, and what that means is that you're interacting in a world with other people. It's essentially like like you're playing a video game in a role-playing setting. It's there's nothing else quite like it right now, because a lot of it requires imagination, requires improvisation, and it definitely requires a lot of organization. But everything's persistent, actions have consequences. But yeah, I think we'll probably be going through some of the documents today. Taking it easy right now. I think we might do like a playtest or two, depending on who pops in. We need roughly 3 people in order to play like a good game of our Chat Plays D&D roguelike. I did actually put a YouTube video out. And this is just to test the waters. I wanted to try to make a couple videos. I know I have to make more than one. That's the thing. Yo, what up, Caleb? Called out again. Welcome in. So I put out a short today. And I didn't do any promotion or anything. But I just wanted to practice. I also did some interesting things behind the scenes with it. So we'll see if that pays off. But yeah, I made that over the last week. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. The goal is to go for like quantity instead of quality. I think a big part of my problem has always been like this perfectionist nature. Like I would say OCD is like a blessing and a curse for me. But yeah, this is on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and X. So I cross-posted everywhere with it, all at the same time using software. But yeah, I intend to make more of these, at least for a week or two. In theory, I can throw one together in like a couple hours. So I'm going to try and make one after this stream goes offline. Now, what else are we going to be talking about today? I basically want to chat today. Again, like I am more inclined to just get into the habit of streaming once again, because it literally is a habit. You have to go live at certain times so people know that you're live, you know, like regulars, which I feel bad for the people that have supported me in the past. I've taken my sweet time figuring out what I want to do, but I also think we're going to be meeting a lot of new people in the future, near or far future. And I'm not exactly impatient. I'm prepared to go through the process. So yeah, just hitting on some of the things I did today. I got to play as my character in this world called Project Ouroverse. So this was the West March campaign. Called out again. I was telling you a little bit about it. But I made like a shark person, and his name's Johnny Bravo. Oh, mama. I'm a big old beefy shark person, and, well, I'm a dual wielder, as they call me. And I got Tooth and Nail. Tooth and Nail, those are my weapons. It's a battle axe I call Tooth. It's made of the big shark's tooth. No one related to me, of course. And then I got Nail. It's basically like a...
with me.
It's a big old stick with nails in it. Tooth and Nail. I gotta remove your voice, it's so jarring. Yo, Panda, how are you? Welcome. Today we're just chatting, Panda. I know you're an adventurer yourself. I was talking about this West March campaign that I joined. So to summarize, a West March campaign is an MMO version, so MMORPG version of Dungeons & Dragons. It's called Project Ouroverse. I'll drop the link for anyone that wants to check it out later. And so what you do is you create a character, and then you're basically building them inside of a community. And there's like 200 players right now. And so I just went on a quest. I will be in the future. Right now, I'm still getting used to everything, and I also would want to ask for permission from not only like the DMs, but other players. In the future, I hope to be a DM for Project Ouroverse, because I really love the concept of West Marches. The only thing I didn't like about West March was the amount of organization that it takes to run one. So I decided against even attempting it. But Project Ouroverse does all that. Like, they have a system set in place. Like, I just clock in, clock out. So, yeah, consent is very important, I agree. I kind of want to give you guys both voices. Called Out Again has the wrong voice, though. It's also been 2 weeks since I tinkered with all my goodies here. So I apologize in advance if things take too long. Or look disorienting on screen. So for example, I'm trying to show you the windows as I work on them. So yeah, let's just walk through the process of giving you guys characters. Obviously, we're probably not going to play. This is very low maintenance. If you are busy, which I imagine both of you are here in chat, Panda and Called Out Again. But I'm just talking out loud, walking through my process here. This is a little bit behind the scenes. So this is streamer.bot. So if you guys want to add automation to your streams, this is what you would want to use. It's called streamer.bot. So I have a lot of commands here for picking players. So for example, that's unique to this roguelike element that I'm building, is the players. I am also thinking about redoing some of the things. So for example, I was doing 10-minute increments where one person in chat would be a player for 10 minutes. Instead, what I'm thinking about building, and I would love feedback on this, is people in chat can do a command. Hey, Garnican. The command would be like P1. I'm ready to get angry and drink a lot of beer. And then let's say Panda also does P1. I'm really sad today, but that's okay because I'm with you all. And then I would push a button and it would pick one of those entries at random. So basically, instead of having one person drive the character for 10 minutes, it would be everyone can type something for any character, you know, up to a cooldown of like once per minute. And within that time frame, I'm pulling randomly from that pool of submissions. So that's the concept that I'm like playing with. But the only problem is that's going to take some time to build. So that might be something we work on today. Okay, Panda, you like it, and alternating is also definitely on the table. Like, I already built the prior where it was like one person for 10 minutes. Like, I already have that ready to go. But I think one thing that occurred was the amount of time to swap people and the amount of time it took to act in combat, especially. Like, there was a large delay. And so we're trying to remove that delay, which is definitely going to take some working. You know, it's not going to be perfect no matter what we do. So like 10 minutes for one person, next 10 minutes is everyone. Oh, I like that concept. Now, and Garnikin, welcome again. I hope you're doing well. I really like the idea of one person being a player character because it makes it more concise and not as random. So the only problem with the randomness is that, in my mind, it's less cohesive, it's less direct, it's very chaotic, which I think can be a good thing. It can be entertaining if it's chaotic, but at the same time, I would be directing a lot of it. So let's just talk through this, and I'll do a quick gameplay of what might happen. I'm gonna try not to overwhelm myself because a lot of these tools I haven't played with in like a week or two. But if we were to go, and I want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing instead of talking through it, make it more visual. So I'll have my stream manager. And so let's say in the grand scheme of things, you all are submitting messages. I don't have this system built yet, or just kind of like talking through it. You all submit a message. Let's say each of you in chat here types in an example message. I'll put in an example message. So it'd be like P1, I am mad. P1, this is bad. P1, you are sad. So those are like example messages. Let's say this character here is player 1. And I'll make sure they have a message. So player 1 here will be their turn in combat. So I'll even start the combat. We'll go ahead and skip to their turn. Why did it roll twice for everybody? Okay, we'll try once more. I really don't want it to roll twice. Okay, there we go. Back to normal. We'll go ahead and skip to their turn. So player 1. So it's your turn. I would, at the start of this turn, be like, okay, what do you want to do? And then I would pull randomly from that. So we'll say it was I am glad that called out again submitted. So I would play that through our voice speaker. Like, it would play through our speaker bot, so the text to speak. So TTS would play it. Jonathan says, I like it, even though the players would probably looks like a little schizo. It would definitely feel schizo. But the chaos is almost guaranteed. And I think it makes it more... It would feel more involved in the chat. Like, I would say the chat would feel like they're like constantly integrated with whatever's going on. And if your message is what gets pulled, like, you'll have this moment of euphoria. So our character here says, I am glad. And then I personally would drive what they do in combat. So this could be seen as a bad thing, but I would argue that how I drive is the most optimized, and it's also the fastest. So for example, waiting for someone who is currently the driver of a player, for them to do something, it might take anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes, where for me, it will literally take seconds. Like, I could do it in less than a minute, one person's turn. And Panda, that's a great example. So Panda threw this in, and we would get this entire dialogue, or monologue, I guess, of our player one. When I start his turn, I would do the message, it would play that through the text to speak, and I would essentially follow that through improv. So we hear it where it's like, I am angry, and I rip my shirt off, and then he starts dressing dolls in his ripped shirt. So basically takes that turn, really, to do something funny and quirky. So I imagine that there could be some very fun, like, scenes that come out of this. And when we played the other day, Called Out Again was there. He was one of my playtesters. No one really did anything out of the ordinary. Everybody just kind of did the usual turn, which is completely fine. It's like, these were the things that your character can do that are optimized for combat. So in terms of like a cleric, which we'll say is player 2. So I'll do always. So player 2 here would basically have, like, on their character sheet, Guiding Bolt, Cure Wounds, and Sacred Flame. They would often, based on their positioning, like let's say they were close to the Terra Folk, they would do Sacred Flame. But if they were far away, they would do Guiding Bolt. Or if their friend was hurt, based on like who went and who damaged who, like they might do Cure Wounds. So all of that micromanaging would be put back on me, which will make things go faster. Because I personally believe if you're a chatter and you just hop into a random Dungeons and Dragons game, even if you are the driver of a character, if you don't understand the context of what your character can do, you know, let's say, like, Panda Pops, Garnican, and Called Out Again are all here. Let's say they've been here the past 10 minutes even. Like, all three of you would arguably understand what your character can do. Let's say Joe Schmo hops into our Twitch chat, and he's here for less than 10 seconds, and he doesn't really understand what's going on. He gets selected because he saw a raffle, and then all of a sudden it's his turn, and then there's this moment where it's like he has to ask what to do. So a lot of these are kind of like potential problems that I foresaw, and I saw them as obstacles that needed a solution. So right now I'm just kind of like talking through potential solutions. Any chance the log can be posted somewhere afterwards? Ooh. So when you say log, like story time, yes, shorts is a good suggestion, Panda. The log, do you mean for like what characters say? because I think having like a transcript would be very fun, and I know that might take a couple extra steps, but it also wouldn't take too long for me to set up because I can already see like a potential way to do it. So Discord has webhooks, and so I can basically, every time I get a message that goes into text to speak, I can actually send that same message to Discord, and so I can create a log through that. Yeah, Garnican, I can do that. I think that's a great idea. And then Panda Pop's shorts are definitely on the table, where it's like a fun scene that I can post to YouTube. Which, by the way, if you guys want to see something I threw together this past week, this is something I've been playing with, and I finally sat down and made it. Basically doing like a story time with Dungeons and Dragons. So give it a watch, tell me what you think. I'm probably going to make more of them, that way I have a better sample size. But this was the first one, and I'm relatively happy with how it turned out. But yeah, let me write those ideas down. I think those are very good ideas. And yeah, I think people would want to go back and read the logs, especially if it says like my name, you know. In this potential example, Garnican stated blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, my name is now forever in this log of, like, funny quips. So we'll do character log. And then, yeah, I think random text to speak for each character is very fun. Yeah, but yeah, that's where my head's at right now with how this is going, is just having a more direct and honestly more automated way to play Dungeons and Dragons, where it is interactive, so everybody in chat is voting on things. And then it just keeps going. Like, there's no delay. So when I played in Aurora today, there were timers for people because there was such a big delay. And I think that's always been a problem with Dungeons and Dragons, is like, some people can take 5 to 10 minutes for their turn. And they don't intend to take that long, it's just that's what happens. So by offloading all of that micromanaging of a character to me, the DM, makes it for a more engaging show. Like, it makes it to where the content itself is flowing faster. And let's be honest, we live in a time where ADHD is basically everyone has it. You're born with it these days. You're born with a phone in your hands. So we don't want to have these large hiccups of time. But yeah, that's just something I want to maybe work on today. I think I was going to take it easy today. Maybe talk about, you know, new content coming out in terms of like Dungeons and Dragons. Could even do like some live reacts. I don't know. But thank you guys for just popping in. I have been remiss of not streaming, and those of you that keep checking up on me and keep encouraging me, it's a very welcome thing. And I wish I had more than just thank you to give you, so thank you very much. 2 months of travel could take 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes of combat. You're exactly right, Garnican. It's just, that's an issue. I mean, some people love the strategy element of it, but it really does take too long in combat. Let's just watch a random video and just react to it, because that's content these days. I say that, but it's like I want to watch the video, so. Take cash or card. How about crypto called out? You take crypto?
In the Dungeons & Dragons 5e 2024 Player's Handbook, making some comparisons to other resources from D&D and even a few other fantasy games. And here it is, the 2024 Player's Handbook.
So if you didn't know, which I think all three of you here hanging out, it is a big event happening in Dungeons & Dragons right now is that the Player's Handbook is getting updated. So we're in 5th edition, and this is basically 5.5. So it's like 5th and a half edition. And it's been 10 years since 5th edition came out. So this is a really big update that they took 10 years to build, and they've added several different expansions into it, such as Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. That's an expansion pack, if you will, of Dungeons & Dragons. So essentially 2024 marks the new edition of the Player's Handbook. So he's basically going into this video, and I'll probably skip around a bit, of what the updates mean for the casual players. And it looks like blanket statement, says it's not for casual people.
Pretty easily compatible with the previous Player's Handbook and beautifully illustrated inside and out. Nearly 400 pages long, but pretty easily searchable thanks to the new rules glossary in the back, and it offers you not one, but 2 games. Game the first, roughly the first 30 pages. This is the fun game you play with your friends, pretending to be elves and dragon people, rolling a 20-sided die, fighting goblins and dragons, taming an owlbear. You know it, you love it. And really, it has not changed since the previous version of the Player's Handbook that came out 10 years ago. So if you're only ever the game master, you don't really need to buy this new book. But game the second, over 300 pages of this book is the fun game you play by yourself, spending hours researching through hundreds of mechanical character options to lovingly craft a vaguely medieval-themed superhero who will accomplish those.
Is the audio still low? I know my voice is high, and this YouTuber in particular, his like videos are notoriously low. Like I could click any other video and it might be loud. I have it at max volume. I don't think there's any other way for me to...
So if you're a player who wants all the most up-to-date official options, you do want this book. But if you can wait a couple months, you'll get a portion of them for free from D&D in early 2025, and that free portion will be easily enough material for the beginner or the casual player. What
that is the
not buying the Player's Handbook or like waiting to buy it? What a hater.
That's the highest.
No. I love D&D, but I mostly value the game that I get to play with my friends. That's why I do this stuff. And there are many books and resources, both from D&D and from other publishers, that let you roll a 20-sided die, pretend to be an elf, fight some goblins, tame an owlbear, and maybe even slay a dragon in a dungeon. But most of them cost a lot less money than this one and have fewer rules to read. Now, based on those claims, you can probably tell that while I did receive this book for free from the publisher, they have no control over what I say in this review, and they didn't otherwise pay me to make this video. Unlike this video's awesome sponsor, Chaypaku. Really, the Chaypaku Patreon is a...
Thank you.
By its cover, this party of heroes facing down a red dragon that you can kind of see down here, but clearly the focus is on the characters and on the massive gold dragon, a reference to D&D's 50th anniversary in 2024. It's good stuff. And without a doubt, the artwork in this book, and here's some on the screen, look at it. This artwork sets D&D apart.
So I agree, the artwork is fantastic.
For every 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons player. And no way, just last year, they released a 400-page PDF, about as big as this, of the D&D 5e core rules, free, under Creative Commons. And sure, it doesn't have any art, but it has everything you need to play, including like 300 monsters, while this book only has like 50. And those free core rules aren't just a big PDF. They're easily navigable on websites like Open5e, Roll20, D&D Beyond, and more. But the main reason that this new book is non-essential is that the publisher has promised to release a new free PDF of these updated core rules soon after the release of the Monster Manual in 2025, and surely all those websites will update soon after. So if you can just wait a couple months, you can play the most up-to-date version of D&D for free. And it's already been out 10 years, so like, what's a couple more months? Now the catch, if there is one, is that these free PDFs do not include all of the...
See you later, called out again. Much appreciated.
Same character options as the books for the players who want everything. However, as I will try to make a case for here, the books include way more character options than you'll ever actually play. Summarizing from the table of contents in the 2024 Player's Handbook. About 30 pages explain how to play the 5th edition game system. Roll 1d20, roll high, add a character stat like strength, dex, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Cool. It teaches you about checks, saves, attacks, advantage and disadvantage, actions and bonus actions, travel and combat, and it has pretty great examples.
So, I know Panda and Garnican, you've definitely played before, so you understand some of these rules. So I'll summarize for those new to the game. Essentially, Dungeons & Dragons has a lot of rules. We're talking like you need to sit down and play this game multiple times in order to understand even half of the things that you can do in the game. So the problem with Dungeons & Dragons has always been how difficult it is to get into it, to start playing. Like, it's very formidable and foreboding, simply mechanically intensive to start even as like a level 1, because there's just so many things you can and can't do.
Constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Cool. It teaches you about checks, saves, attacks.
So as he's saying, it's teaching you some of the terminology you'll learn, such as checks, advantage, disadvantage, actions, bonus actions. Like, he's not going to break down what these mean. He's glossing over it. And I think talking to a layperson about a game they've never played, like, you can even see these words up on screen: advantage, disadvantage, actions, bonus actions, travel, combat. Like, those are so they're not very specific. Like, they don't really mean anything until you actually play the game. Don't expect me to memorize that book. Exactly, Garnican. I don't think I would ever expect a player. Let's say we meet someone here that is literally browsing Twitch for the first time, the D&D section. They land on my stream. I'm talking about, the subclass options for fighter and spending superiority die. Like, all of those words are just a jumbled mess. So a lot of what I'm building with this roguelike version of Dungeons & Dragons is so that it is easily approachable, where you can just hop in and just start, quote-unquote, playing, or at least watching someone play. I think that's a big reason as to why I'm building this variation of D&D, to where it's much easier to grasp what's happening, because I, as the quote-unquote dungeon master, and now to an extension playing the characters so that people can just kind of like watch and talk through the characters, that makes it to where it's easily digestible, as well as easier to understand what's happening, easier to realize like what mechanics are occurring. So I think a lot of these words are just so difficult to grasp just by reading them. And that's a lot of the reasons why they made this player's handbook. They made this update, I should say, is that they wanted to simplify the rules so it was more approachable. And a lot of the feedback that I've watched other content creators make was that it is still very difficult to just... one creator in particular, I can't remember his name right now. Maybe I'll add it later if I make a video out of this. He essentially had qualms about there not being an index. So looking at this D20 test, for example, like some of these different keywords, there's no like reference to, like, it doesn't say like a page number, which is very easy to add in software these days, where it's an automatically updated page number. And I thought that was a very important like distinction. This was a individual who was constantly in the business of making expansion packs for Dungeons & Dragons. So homebrew is another word for an expansion pack in D&D. And so that was one of the biggest concerns, was like, players are basically said, go to chapter 2 to find the rules on such and such. And so that in itself was a very difficult way to navigate this book.
Advantage and disadvantage, actions and bonus actions, travel and combat, and it has pretty great examples of play throughout this chapter. Really nicely done. But then there's about 15 pages, half the length of that chapter, just to explain the steps of character creation. Yeah. And then about 150 pages of options for building your own heroic character. We're talking 12 character classes with different mechanics at various levels, 48 subclasses with mechanics at a couple levels, 16 character backgrounds providing an extra ability or two each, and 10 character species, which also come with their own abilities. Whew. But wait, there's more. Yes, another 150 pages covering 75 extra abilities called feats to choose from at certain levels, as well as 38 weapons, each with new mechanical properties, and then about a dozen kinds of armor, about 100 other pieces of gear, and several hundred magic spells to choose from. Over 300 pages for character creation is wild. Among thousands of RPGs out there today, that is not normal. It's a whole game of its own, and people freaking love it. I myself have thoroughly enjoyed the research project that is making a 5th edition character, spending hours reading and watching videos, studying these hundreds of mechanics, and discovering unique ways that I can overlap them to create my own original hero. It is fun, but for some people, like myself...
So it's certainly like a distinction to be made, where Dungeons & Dragons is one of the more complex games. And I think removing some of that complexity would just be a hindrance to the game that's already set in place. So I think a lot of the stress that comes from learning the game is just like where to start, where to learn, like how to learn. I personally believe that such an interactive medium as tabletop RPGs deserves to have some sort of like investment by Wizards of the Coast to build a game that people can like literally click and interact with on their website. And the fact that they haven't done this is kind of a tragedy. Like just building an HTML web browser game, which even I myself have tinkered with, and I could throw something together where it's just like point and click, or yeah, just clicking on an element on screen. Like it's relatively simple in the grand scheme of things, but just having that interactive medium that then could also point to their personal virtual tabletop, I believe is a lost opportunity for them. Because, and this again is like not based on any market research that I've done, but just something I've noticed is that people that I talk to and I ask, oh, have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons? A lot of them will kind of like chime in and say, no, but I've always wanted to. And I'm going to start asking more the follow-up question of like, why haven't you started? Because I believe that they not only can't find those groups, you know, of people willing to adopt them into their adventuring party, but also it's just so formidable that starting is the hard part.
Eventually, the game of character creation becomes less fun when you realize how rare it is to actually play that hero, let alone play them into the high levels of the game, and when you finally do that, you see how unwieldy the game becomes at those high levels. I'm not going to dwell on it here, but even the D&D community pretty widely agrees that the game just becomes difficult to manage for both players and game masters, usually around level 10 in this game with 20 levels. And D&D has released data publicly showing that most players just do not play most of the game's levels. So statistically, most of the content in the player's handbook, as fun as it can be to theorize about and tinker with, will never reach your game table. Therefore, if you are a fan of the 5e character creation game, that's great. There's a huge community of players out here, especially.
So I have to agree with that point. I don't think I've ever actually played at level 20. I did a one-shot where my players were level 20, and even then, it was just like they were gods at that point, and I think it is important to have that kind of like, this is what you're aiming to achieve. But as Bob here just mentioned, people aren't actively playing in these upper categories. They're still stuck, and maybe not even stuck, but just like still invested in their characters that they're building from level 1 to, 10, 12, 15. Getting into those upper tiers of Dungeons and Dragons is not the goal of D&D anymore. It's more so about just playing the game, enjoying your time spent with friends, and building, a small community of your friends who maybe they were strangers when you first started playing with them, but now they're your friends. Like, it takes time to get from 1 to 20. And a lot of times campaigns are not meant to go that long. And the DMs that actually build a campaign that goes from 1 to 20 is based on like a not only investment of time, but also a great knack for improbability or sequencing the events in a way that directs towards an end goal, such as like the final boss. There's still going to be smaller bosses that lead up to it, and perhaps even story arcs that also seem to cause, the next event to happen. And even if they're making it up on the fly, all of this takes time and involvement by the players that join their table. And so I personally believe that in creating a more digestible way to play Dungeons & Dragons, and especially a easier way to join a game and furthermore begin to play for the first time. So if you're a beginner, like, I think that needs to be like the new focus, because you want people to begin to sink time into this game because it's so worthy of your time. It is a very loved game. Garnican says, and that campaign will be derailed long before. Exactly. I would say almost all of my campaigns have ended, around 5, 8, 12. Like, those levels are kind of like great milestones, simply because like the players feel stronger after they hit it, and that's usually like right before a boss encounter that kind of like ties up the entire story. I ended, I think, my last campaign when after they reached level 8, they had a great encounter with the final boss, and it was just such a monumental experience that we decided to take some time off and just not play for a couple weeks. And then life happens, people can't play anymore. So it's just like a natural severance when you get to a certain level, or just like point in time where the players just gravitate away from each other. And so I don't think this is the point he's making, but rather I believe that there needs to be a more concise version of Dungeons and Dragons that you can hand to a beginner. I think this handbook is so packed to the brim, as he mentioned, over 150 pages of character creation. It is so packed. And so I think creating maybe even like a smaller product that could be distributed on a wider scale at a smaller price is a very essential part of marketing. I think having these free samples, because Bob the Builder here even mentioned that there are, free versions of like the open sourced Dungeons & Dragons rule set that you can find for free online. And he even mentioned not too long ago in the video that you can just find it online. Yeah, PDFs. They don't include all the new stuff.
PDFs do not include all of the same character options as the books for the players who want everything.
Right. So essentially the free option, like the PDFs and the open sourced rule set, they have like 1 or 2 options as compared to like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 in the book. Especially the more expanded things such as feats and spells. Those are all worthy of getting the book as an investment. But I think having a way to just like pick up the game and start playing in a very digestible format is very essential to this industry.
You'll never reach your game table. Therefore, if you are a fan of the 5e character creation game, that's great. There's a huge community of players out here, especially in the online RPG community, who share that passion, and you're going to love this book. But if you're a beginner or a more casual player who just doesn't have the hours and hours to do that research or want to make the time to do it, you can pass on this. You're not missing anything, no FOMO. Or, if you're in this hobby as a GM, you're not responsible for memorizing every character feature, so you don't really need it either. Just wait for that free PDF and all those websites to update in early 2025. And you can do what I'm going to do and just look forward to the next D&D box set, probably coming in later 2025. They are my favorite D&D products because they include a condensed version of the core rules, usually like 50 pages or less, with a short adventure, a set of dice, some other helpful accessories, and some of that beautiful artwork, all for about half the price of one D&D book. Because did I mention that D&D actually spreads their core rules into 3 of these big books? Yes, it's not just these 400 pages. There are 1,200 pages to study for $150, and they have the audacity to write in here that you need all 3 books to play the game, and we all know that's a lie. Blech. Or, if you still want to check out something new today, and you prefer that first game, the one that you play with your friends, rolling d20s, pretending to be elves and fighting goblins and taming an owlbear, you got it. I'll give you just 2 quick recommendations that are way easier to read and learn and won't break the bank. Cairn, first edition. The PDF is free on DriveThruRPG. This booklet is only a couple bucks, and it's only 20 pages. You can make simple yet detailed, personable characters in minutes. Combat flows quickly but smoothly, so much so that even new big beefy games coming out like Matt Colville's RPG are taking inspiration from combat systems like this one. And overall, this tiny game puts much less emphasis on rules and much more on creative problem solving, making it great for beginners, casual players, experienced players who just want to try something new, and plus...
So I hate to be the one that says it, because I too am hopeful about like a new system that like takes over society, but Dungeons and Dragons at this point is so ingrained in gamer minds. And now with Baldur's Gate basically hitting that nail deeper into the wood, like Dungeons and Dragons is not going anywhere. It is forever ingrained in society. People are going to want to play that over any game that comes out in the near future. I think the more experienced TTRPG players and the players that actively want to find, the next big thing, like they're the ones that are going to want to try these TTRPGs, such as Cairn, which he's holding up, or Matt Colville's, new D&D version, and Daggerheart, which Critical Role came out. All of them have the best intentions. All of them are assuredly going to have a fun game to play. But when you think about society as a whole, people that have never played a TTRPG, the first game that comes to mind is going to be Dungeons and Dragons. That's the game that they'll want to play. And it's almost like a placebo, I guess might be the word, where they're just like inclined to play Dungeons and Dragons over any other game, no matter what. Now, Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, they're essentially trying to capitalize on this. They're even trying to make new monetization methods. They are not going to quit on Dungeons and Dragons. I think they just need a better marketing approach to get those new audiences in the door. Right now, they're coming out with a new player's handbook, which is $50, $60, which is not approachable. It's not an entry point into the game itself. And I personally believe that they should learn how to make a product that gets the player's foot in the door and engages them in a way that makes them want to pay $50 or $60. Even if it is like a $10, $15, $20 product, even he's saying about the starter kit, which is like $25, I don't think the starter kit is the answer. I believe it's more of like a probably like a build your own character. Think of like Barbie. You know, like Barbie, it's like you buy a Barbie doll, Ken doll, and you get to dress them up however you see fit. What if we had that for Dungeons and Dragons, where you're dressing up a character how you see fit? This could even be like a digital web application. In fact, that's going to be a lot cheaper in terms of manufacturing. That you get to create your character. They look awesome at the end of the experience, which maybe it costs you $5, $10. It gives you a exported PNG where you have this built character, and it automatically creates this character sheet that you can print out and take to the Adventures League or your next game. Maybe you schedule something through their new software that helps dungeon masters schedule games. Of course, I'm spitballing here. Like, I have ideas, but I am not a conglomerate of people able to put these ideas together. I'm just one guy with a computer. Garnican says a concentrated version, usually 50 pages or less, and there's the problem. That's the problem pointed out. So I think that is a good way to start playing, is through the starters kit, aka that's why they called it the starters kit. I think finding groups to play is the harder part. So, of course, buying a starter kit, fantastic. Glad you have a starter kit. Now you have to assemble friends to play. Usually the person that buys the starter kit ends up being the dungeon master. So that's like the newer issue that I'll point out is like, great, you who bought the starter kit, you now have this 50-page manual on how to play. You can give it to your friends so they can each individually read it. And don't forget, you're the one that showed the most interest by buying this, so you're probably going to have to be the narrator, aka Dungeon Master. So I just hope they begin to encourage more players joining the space, because right now, even with the player's handbook, it's just so big. Like, it's information, as he states here, that is just like too much. It's just over 150 pages of character creation. You don't need that. Let's say you want to build a sorcerer, maybe you even have a character creation like handbook that is specifically to your class that you want to play. Honestly, that might be a fun way to split up the player's handbook, is that you spend $5, you get the entire section of a class. Let's say sorcerer. So you get the entire sorcerer section of the character's handbook, and you get like a character creation menu reminiscent of a video game. So, Rykopath, welcome. You see, need an AI to be Dungeon Master so everybody can play a character and the characters choose their own adventure each time. Honestly, that is the future. But it's not the present. I think that's a great idea, and conceptually, I think people are trying to build it right now. I want to... Let's see what Google pulls up. So we'll say Dungeon Master AI. I know there's like novel AI. Looks like people have posted on Reddit. Hyperwrite, I haven't heard of that one. Because I remember looking for this not too long ago. We have AI Dungeon. I know novel AI is similar, but it is not a Dungeon Master. I think having it specifically Dungeon Master is the thing people want. Hope you're doing well, Ryko. Are you a fan of D&D? Oh, I think this is what I played before. AI Dungeon. So play.ai.dungeon. We'll finish the video, and I think we'll maybe play one of these. It might be fun.
With will never reach your game table. Therefore, if you are a fan of the 5e character creation game, that's great. There's a huge community of players out here, especially in the online RPG community, who share that passion, and you're going to love this book. But with a short adventure D&D book, because did I mention that D&D actually spreads their core rules into 3 of these big books?
Yeah.
Yes, it's not just these 400 pages. There are 1,200 pages to study for $150, and they have the audacity to write in here that you need all 3 books to play the game, and we all know that's a lie. Bleh. Or if you still want to check out something new today and you prefer making it the full
this
game,
is where he
so
suggests this
you already
game.
know D&D, but just want a streamlined version that fits in one convenient rulebook. Same dice, same stats, same core roll. Characters still have a background and
So he's talking about Shadow Dark, which is another introduction TTRPG, simpler rule set. It's not D&D though, and I think that's like the important thing that I'm trying to state. I mean, he has his own points, of course, but you're not here for him. You're here for me reacting to him. Nimble 5e is a fun way that someone else has kind of like alternated Dungeons & Dragons. So it's still Dungeons & Dragons, but it is essentially a new rule set that kind of like takes the old and updates it to make it faster. So Nimble 5e is currently in like a backer kit situation where they're funding it. The new rules are not out yet, but this is the version of D&D that I would probably try, simply because it's an interesting way to approach. That's loud.
Are too precious to waste with slow, tedious rules. Nimble 5e is a fast, tactical, and 5e compatible RPG that eliminates the slog, all too common at our game sessions. No more.
Ooh, Rykopath, that sounds awesome. Do you have like a summary of one of your favorite characters? I recently made a shark person who is a fighter that uses like pirate kind of like combat. And so far I'm loving him. I just played a game of him today before going live.
More waiting 15 minutes for your turn just to miss your attack? No, not here. Attacks are fast and heroic. No more.
So this is the big thing that Nimble is doing, is you no longer have to hit to roll. So generally in Dungeons & Dragons, you have to roll a d20 when you choose to attack something. That determines your accuracy. So if you roll a natural 20, that determines it's a critical hit. So the way Nimble 5e rolls is you automatically hit. However, when you roll the damage dice, so let me use a Great Axe as an example. The Great Axe uses a d12. If you roll a 12, it's a critical hit, and you get an additional damage dice. If you roll a 1, it's a miss. So if you roll a d12 with the Great Axe, 1 is a miss. Oh, 20 years. Damn, Rykopath. We got to get you back in the game, dude. You're missing out.
Just to see if you even hit. The overhauled combat system keeps things quick yet deeply strategic. And with exploding critical hits, you can retain the chaotic excitement of battle. Tactics and teamwork are greatly improved with new heroic reactions. Actively defend.
Right, Rykopath, that means you're a veteran. I would want you on the battlefield.
Initiative, you can get right into combat without breaking up the flow of the story. Nimble enables more player agency with a flexible action economy in.
So I really like what Nimble's doing, and I'm just gonna like click through this. So they essentially made a updated, very simplified, which is again my goal with what I'm building right now, the roguelike version of D&D. So it's just a more simplified version of Dungeons & Dragons. So that's what Nimble's doing. It's currently not out, and if it was out, I'd be playing it right now. Like I would be, heavily invested in making it work. But right now it's still being like funded. Like they're doing Kickstarter backer kit stuff. So they basically made new classes that kind of like are more involved in this new system they're building, where it's like I use an action to like jump across the battlefield, and it requires certain things like my movement, like even spells are using like this action point system. So the action points, it's kind of like expended all at once or over time. So let's say you have like 3 actions per turn, which is I think what they're building. If you do like a 6 action spell, that means next turn you can't do anything, like you're tired. So it's trying to simplify a lot of the things that Dungeons & Dragons kind of struggles with, and that's like the action economy.
That you can't wait to hand out. Items that will help
seasoned well.
Or get your party into or out.
What up, Huddle Hill? Welcome in.
A new
Hollow, I saw your message on Instagram, which I rarely check if ever, and so I just wanted to say thank you, Huddle. It was very kind of you to send that. I hope you're doing awesome.
More memorable nail-biting moments. The best part, this is all 5e compatible. Bring your favorite D&D adventure.
Yep. So this is essentially like a reimagining of D&D. Again, something that I'm also doing, and I wish I could play it. It's just it's not out yet. Cool. So like this video, I enjoyed it. Great video. Thank you very much, Bob the Builder. Let's play an AI dungeon. And it looks like we have two options here. We'll play one of these. I think I'll make it full screen. You guys don't need to see my orc character here. As handsome as he is. Entering lurk mode. Thank you, Panda. You know, I'd see it when I needed it. You know what, Huddle Hill? I needed that every day of my life, so I'm going to look at it every day for the rest of my life. So thank you. Let's do Faerun. So I don't think it's... But in theory, I should be able to type what I do. And I'll admit, the first time I played this, I was not able to derail it. So what do I mean by that? I tried to add chaos. I tried to remove myself from the story, and it didn't work. Basically, it was always prompting me to do certain things. So it loses a lot of improbability, but again, it's an AI. It's trying to make you go on a story. So I wish it had like a narrator. I think that'd be awesome. But I'll read it. In fact, maybe I'll put on a voice for the narrator. Hold on, I got something. Oh, you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I have a thing called voice mod. I paid for this a long time ago. I don't use it half as much as I want to. But I can turn into a narrator. Or not, you know, like automate my voice in a way that it sounds like I'm Morgan Freeman. Let's see what it sounds like.
I'm Morgan Freeman. Okay, that sounds perfect. Oh, I don't think he could hear me. That is ugly. Stalin. You are Stalin. A male builds the wizard and never went to wood. You've gone to Faerun in search of knowledge and power, and have made it your mission to collect as many arcane artifacts as possible. You've heard rumors of the powerful relics hidden in the Neverwinter Wood, and are determined to add it to your collection. As you explore the forest, you come across the Dragon Ring, the fortress, read out from the undead agents of Saz'Tam. You recognize the Drug Ring as an ideal place to gather more intel about the relic you seek. You carefully approach the fortress, a guard of skeletons, their bones bleached like Madasanum, stand sentinel outside the Drug Ring. They take no notice of you as you slip past and into the forest. Inside, you find yourself a large courtyard filled with lone dead soldiers practicing combat drills. You spot a group of wizards huddled together at deep in conversation. They are discussing the relic you seek.
Okay, what do we do? We're an illithid wizard, so that essentially means we're like a tentacle monster. So now it's our turn to type. So there's soldiers practicing drills and a group of wizards. So it's basically saying we can talk to or like investigate the combat, these soldiers practicing drills, or we can go approach the wizards. I want to attempt to stealth past people and listen in on their conversations as if I were not there. Psychopath imagining voice commands and real-time actions from all players. That'd be fun. I think the real-time aspect is imperative. You know, it's an interactive medium. It's like a video game. Thank you, Garnikin.
You move dryly along the edge of the courtyard, standing in the shadows. The undead soldiers nearby seem not to notice you. They're focused on their combat drills. You catch the group of lizards, taking care to remain unseen. They are too engroused in their conversation to notice you. The relic is set into me, hidden deep within the nether winterwood, guarded by powerful forces. One wizard says.
I approach them, appearing confident in my stride.
The wizard turns you, the face's expressionless. Can we help you? Lum asks. You explain your interest in the relic, asking for more information. The wizards exchange the lips. Then the one who spoke before addresses you. The wizard you seek is known as the Orb of Zalaha. It says it grants immense power to its wielder, but the
Where can I find it? I can pay any price.
The wizard studies you for a moment, then answers. The Orb of Zalaha said to be hidden in the realms of Zillow, deep in the wood, never interworded. The beyond many have sought it, and few have returned. The rule is guarded by powerful forces and treasure.
Apps. Will you accompany me? I swear not to betray you.
The wizards huddled together, murmuring in Lone's bones. After a moment, one speaks up. We will accompany you, but now this our allegiance is to the Lord, not to you. If we suspect you will betray, we will not hesitate to take action. You nod, accepting their terms. The wizards lead you out of the dread ring and into the never.
I follow them, trying to gauge their power level, and if I could take them in a fight.
There was a new apprentice voice, their staffs thumping gently against the ground as they walked. They seem competent, their movements precise and confident. You sense a faint magical aura around them, a hollow power that suggests that they are not to be underestimated. As you travel, you come across various obstacles, thorny vines that block your path, such as sloths, So the danger.
Creatures. I cast my most powerful spell in a display of expertise to cleanse the thorny vines before us. I don't know those spells, Rykopath. I'm an evil wizard. Those are good people spells.
The wizard's watch as you raise your staff and shout an incantation. A burst of magical energy shoots from the tip of their staff, slicing through the thorny vines. As if they were mere shadows, the vines wither and crumble to dust, revealing a clear path ahead. The wizards exchange a glance, their faces betraying a hint of surprise. You are more powerful than we thought.
Says. Thank you. I was sent by the orb. Let us continue.
The wizards nod as you continue on your journey. As you venture deeper into the Neverwinter woods, you encounter a variety of creatures, some friendly, others not. The wizards handle themselves round in combat, their staffs glowing with powerful magic. After several days of travel, you reach the ruins of Zinladal. The air is thick with the scent of decay, and the ground trembles.
With your feet. I seek the magical aura of the orb and follow its presence.
You stand before the gaping mouths in the dog's druid towers, the Mythlala's fate hum with magic emanating from within. The wizards glance at each other, their faces tight with apprehension. This is as far as we go, one of them says. From here on
You're
out,
on your own. I decide to end their lives. Should I turn on them? I don't know if I should turn on them. What would you guys do in this situation? Attack them and run in? Turn them into lizards? Do I have the lizard turn into spell? Okay. I decide to polymorph them into lizards. And then call out to the swamp that dinner is served. Then I make my escape, ushering deeper into the tower.
the wizards' faces twist in shock as they transfer onto the slow lizards. They hiss and scurry away into the underbrush. You jump up to yourself before turning your attention back with faster hand, and the grave tower looms above you, its entrance guarded by a pair of stone gargoyles. You approach cautiously, sensing the powerful magic emanating
Within. I enter, taking heed of the gargoyles to see if they react to my presence. Error, please log in or create a free account to continue. Oh my god. Well, story ends here. Says I have more juice. Continue. Bleh. So far, I like it. I wish there were more images. I think that's that might be a welcome addition. Collect potions and weapons on the ground. That's an interesting thought. Just having, I don't know, these spells that you as a wizard just kind of like conjure up. Because if you're a wizard, your imagination's really the limit. So I do like the idea of text-based dungeoning. I think it's very fun. But it loses a lot of the interactiveness of other people. I think it's a lot more rewarding when you're playing with another human being. Like, I'm not gonna lie. And then also, imagery is important, but I would say theater of the mind more so. Like, being able to imagine things is far more rewarding than leaning on like an image. Personally, I love images and visual mediums, so I use a lot of them in my own storytelling. But yeah, I got like two phone calls, and I should probably answer those. So I think I'm gonna be ending the stream. This was a great little, I don't know, chatting session, and I appreciate you guys for popping in, just saying hi. So thank you. But tis time for me to call it. I think I might pick it up tomorrow, barring that I'm not in trouble, because one of the phone calls was followed by a message, so I hope I'm not in trouble from my job. Thank you, Rykopath, Garnican. I know Panda was lurking, Hoddle Hill was lurking. Called out again if you were there. Thank you. Tear them down. Yeah, just ruin everything. Cast Fireball, easy win. Thanks, guys. I hope you have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whatever you want. All of the above is the best option. Hey, Antonio. All right, that's going to be it for me. Thanks all.